It is 2 in the morning, someone is aggressively trying your front door handle, and you live in a jurisdiction where pulling a traditional firearm means fighting a 10-year legal battle. Most guys just grab a baseball bat, stand in the hallway, and hope for the absolute best. They assume anything short of lead is just a toy that will make an attacker angrier. They are entirely wrong. We are tearing into the non-lethal e-commerce arsenal. We are looking at the heavy hitters you can get shipped directly to your door without a background check. These are not cheap plastic gimmicks. We are talking high kinetic blunt force and true neurological disruption. Here are the 10 best non-lethal defense tools that actually put a threat on the ground. Starting off at number 10, the Streetwise Sting Ring puts 18 million volts in the palm of your hand, completely hidden from sight. A lot of guys laugh at these micro stunners, assuming you will fumble the tiny buttons when a real fight kicks off. That is where the squeeze-end stun technology takes over. Under a massive adrenaline dump, your fine motor skills turn to garbage, making standard buttons useless. This device loops over your middle finger. You do not press a button, you just naturally clench your fist to bridge the circuit, driving the high voltage nodes directly into the target. The instant you make a fist, it unleashes a bright electrical arc that snaps louder than a commercial bug zapper hitting a massive moth. It is the ultimate covert option that requires zero precision to fire. But here is the truth, it has a real flaw. The internal USB rechargeable battery degrades over time. If you toss it in a glove box and forget about it for a year, it will be dead when you actually need it. At $22, it is cheap insurance as long as you keep it topped off. Next up is the Guard Dog Security Concealed Stun Flashlight series, specifically looking at the Titan and Ivy models. This tool gives you severe visual impairment combined with a massive electrical payload, all hidden inside an innocent-looking everyday carry flashlight. A lot of people refuse to carry dedicated defense tools because walking around with a visible stun gun draws way too much unwanted attention. Guard Dog solves this by using their concealed inner stun technology. The electrical prongs are entirely hidden within the inner ring of the aluminum bezel. To anyone watching, it is just a standard 260 lumen light. But when you hit that dedicated switch, it bridges the gap, throwing a crackling electrical arc across the hidden bezel. The button depresses with a stiff, heavy click, and the discharge is aggressive, popping loudly like a heavy welding torch, striking an arc in a quiet garage. It is the ultimate ambush tool for mundane environments. But the ergonomic layout is a real issue. Having the flashlight activation and the stun button right next to each other on the chassis means you are highly likely to hit the wrong switch when you are scrambling in the dark. Moving on, the Vipertek VTS989 gives you devastating direct contact pain compliance without letting the attacker turn the tables on you. Most people look at handheld stun guns and immediately spot the fatal flaw. If you thrust it forward, a motivated attacker is just going to grab the barrel and rip it right out of your hands. Vipertek shuts that down completely by integrating electrified snatch prevention shock plates that run laterally down both sides of the chassis. If an assailant tries to grab the front of the weapon to wrestle it away, those side plates immediately dump a massive high-voltage shock straight into the muscles of their hand and forearm. The firing switch snaps forward with a cheap plastic click, and the massive electrical arc pops loudly, sounding exactly like a car battery being repeatedly short-circuited with jumper cables. It is the best $29 you can spend for close quarters weapon retention, but the build quality is definitely not premium. The aggressive, non-slip rubber coating feels tacky out of the box and starts peeling off rapidly after just a few weeks of sliding around in a center console. Stepping up to true law enforcement grade neurological disruption, we have the Taser Pulse 2. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but sound off below if a non-lethal device has ever surprised you. Unlike the stun guns we just covered, this platform does not rely on simple pain compliance to stop an attacker. It uses compressed nitrogen to fire two barbed probes that physically penetrate clothing and skin to complete an electrical circuit. Once it connects, it delivers a 50,000-volt waveform that mimics your own neurological signals, inducing total neuromuscular incapacitation. It is not about how tough the guy is. It is about physically overriding his motor system so his muscles lock rigid for a 30-second cycle. The trigger pull is clean, and the discharge is a rapid, rhythmic ticking that sounds like an electric fence wire popping against wet grass. You get a 15-foot effective range and a laser-assisted sight that takes the guesswork out of high-stress shooting. This is the rifle for the guy who carries a subcompact pistol in his daily rotation, but wants a legally compliant option for locations where he cannot carry his sidearm. However, the cost is the real deal breaker here. The device is expensive, and you have to burn through cartridges that cost a fortune just to train properly. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this. Sound off below if a non-lethal tool has ever surprised you. Moving into the spray-based platforms, the Mace Pepper Gun 2.0 is the evolution we needed. Most traditional pepper sprays come in tiny canisters that are nearly impossible to index or aim correctly when your heart rate is spiking during an assault. Mace moves that chemical payload into a pistol-style chassis, allowing for a natural, repeatable grip that feels like a standard firearm. It delivers a concentrated 10% OC stream up to 20 feet away, which drastically lowers the risk of blowback compared to standard cone-shaped mists. The stream hits with a wet, heavy hiss, sounding a bit like a high-pressure garden sprayer directed at a brick wall. It even features a dual-mode LED light that strobe flashes to disorient the attacker while you line up your shot. It is a solid, entry-level piece of gear that gets the job done. But here is the deal breaker. The internal OC cartridge pressurization is not infinite. If you let this thing sit in your bag for 3 years, you're going to find out the hard way that it has leaked or lost its propellant when you need it most. Now we get into the serious high-powered rigs, and the Piexon JPX6 Firestorm is a completely different animal. Most of the sprays we have looked at rely on pressurized cans that struggle in freezing cold or sweltering heat, but this is a whole new level of engineering. Instead of a flimsy aerosol, it utilizes a patented pyrotechnic primer charge to launch a concentrated stream of pepper resin at 590 feet per second. That is enough raw velocity to punch through a heavy winter coat or a face mask, ensuring the chemical irritant hits the target regardless of the environment. When you pull the trigger, the discharge is not a hiss. It is a sharp, authoritative crack, sounding like a small firecracker exploding inside a PVC pipe. It gives you 4 pre-loaded shots that you can fire in under 5 seconds, keeping you safe from a distance. But the price is a massive barrier to entry. At nearly $500, you are paying a premium for that Swiss-made reliability, and those proprietary cartridges will cost you a fortune to replace. Stepping up the power, we have the Umarex T4E HDP tactical revolver. This is the platform for the guy who values the mechanical reliability of a 6-shot wheel gun and wants to switch between ammo types on the fly. A lot of skeptics think these are just toys, but they have never seen one of these put a rubber projectile into a gel block at 360 feet per second. The mechanic that matters here is the modular rotary clip system. You can load a mix of heavy, solid rubber rounds for blunt force and frangible pepper rounds for chemical impact, giving you a custom payload for whatever threat you are facing. When you pull the double action trigger, the mechanical hammer drops with a heavy metallic clack, and the discharge is a loud, sharp pop, about as loud as a large book dropped flat on a hardwood floor. It is built with top and bottom Piexon rails, so you can lock on a light or a laser to guarantee your shot placement under pressure. But the build quality has a clear caveat. The cylinder indexing mechanism is known to develop timing issues after a few thousand rounds, meaning you will need to pay close attention to wear on the rotation pawl if you train with it regularly. Entering the elite tier, we have the Umarex T4E HDP 50. This is the platform for the guy who needs a rapid deployment tool that stays pressurized for years and never leaves him hanging in a crisis. Some skeptics doubt the internal tubular magazine setup, thinking it will be too slow or prone to jamming during a high-stress reload. But the mechanic that changes the game is the quick pierce base knob with its integrated pressure indicator. You can store the pistol unpressurized for a decade, and with one firm tap on the grip, a physical red indicator pin pops out to confirm you have full operating pressure for immediate fire. The trigger breaks with a crisp, consistent weight, and the discharge is a surprisingly sharp crack, roughly as loud as a heavy stapler firing into a solid oak desk. It is simple, it is fast, and it is brutally efficient for home defense. But the deal breaker you need to know is the proprietary fill requirement. The design forces you to use specific sized CO2 cartridges that are hard to find in bulk, and the cost of training with these specialized cylinders adds up fast compared to a standard air gun. Closer to the crown, we have the Sabre ESLP-1C launcher. This is the ultimate tool for the guy who needs total area denial, rather than relying on perfect shot placement under extreme stress. Skeptics see the shape and immediately write it off as a toy, but they have never seen this thing unleash a massive cloud of chemical irritant into a room. The mechanic that makes this work is the combination of a 12-gram CO2 cartridge and high-velocity frangible projectiles. Unlike smaller platforms, this delivers enough energy to shatter the projectile against a wall or floor, creating an instant 6-foot aerosol cloud of maximum strength pepper powder. When you pull the trigger, the recoil is negligible, but the discharge is a distinct sharp bark, sounding like a heavy-duty nail gun hitting a thick stud in a basement. It gives you an incredible 175 feet area saturation range, turning a hallway into a total no-go zone. This is the rifle for the guy who is terrified of missing a moving target in the dark and needs to fill the entire space with irritant. But watch the air consumption. It is an absolute air hog. If you rapid fire this, the regulator recovery is painfully slow, leaving you hanging if you do not connect on the first burst. We have seen the area denial capability of the Sabre ESLP-1C and the modular punch of the T4E-TR50. We have covered the stunners and the sprays. None of them command the same respect as the undisputed king of the non-lethal market, the Byrna SD. This is not a toy. It is a purpose-built tactical tool designed to mimic the exact ergonomics of a standard subcompact handgun. The Byrna SD is the culmination of everything we want in a defensive platform. It stores completely unpierced, meaning you can leave it in your nightstand for 5 years and know that the first pull of the trigger will be live. That is a level of reliability that neither the Umarex T4E TR50 nor the Sabre system can match, as they require pre-activation or constant gas maintenance that ruins long-term readiness. The engineering is masterful. It spits .68 caliber projectiles at 280 feet per second, delivering 10.9 joules of energy with perfect accuracy up to 60 feet. It gives you the immediate point-and-shoot kinetic dominance of the T4E HDP, but with a pull-pierce mechanism that makes it superior to every other platform on this list. It is compact, it is ambidextrous, and it is ready the millisecond you need it. If you are serious about defending your home without the legal headache of a powder burner, this is the only answer. You get the range, you get the energy, and most importantly, you get the absolute peace of mind that it will fire when the door kicks in. It stands alone at the top. Look, these tools are only as good as the person holding them. If you buy a high-end launcher and leave it in a drawer, it is just an expensive paperweight. You need to train, you need to understand your local laws, and you need to be prepared to use these tools effectively under pressure. Do the work, get the gear, own the range. Next time, we are ranking the best tactical flashlights for low light identification, and the answer might surprise you.